Guy who did something stupid for a girl. What did you do? Back in elementary school, a girl asked me to be her bodyguard. I said yes and got beat up the next break by 5 boys. Enrolled in the same uni, she stopped talking to me 2 weeks later. She crashed her bike going down a paved road, so I did the same to impress her or to make her feel better. I really don't know my reasoning. She landed in the ditch. I did not. I let another kid punch me in the face. It worked. Edit. Holy shit, gold and silver? Of course the first time I get either is on a comment about me getting punched in the face. Anyways, a lot of people were asking for context, so I'll give a short version. This kid was trying to impress this girl by trying to start a fight with someone. I know this girl didn't like violence, so I told him that he could punch me in the face but make it look real. The girl saw it and immediately started yelling at him. Then came to see if I was okay, and I spent the rest of the day talking to her and feeling like an absolute genius. Edit 2. We were like 9 years old. Traveled an hour and a half multiple times a week to go see her. She never did the same for me and she eventually ghosted me. It was probably one of the most pathetic and cringy times in my life, but I learned a lot from it. Edit. It crazy how many replies and DMs I getting from both men and women that have experienced almost the exact same thing. Best advice I have for anyone going through this is never go the extra mile for someone who DOES and or WOULD and do the same for you. It never worth it. In high school, this girl who I was close friends with but also had a not-so-secret crush on told me once how she really loved those huge 7-foot-tall teddy bears. So I told her one day I'd buy her one and she laughed, writing it off as a joke. Fast forward like 3 years later when we're going to the same local college and reconnected after slowly drifting apart after high school. She tells me one day that she's sick, so I do the only logical thing. Drive to Costco after class, drop $200 on that huge teddy bear, stuff it into the backseat of my tiny Honda Civic, drive incredibly dangerously since the bear is taking up my entire rear window, then show up at her front door. She says it feels too weird and romantic given our past, me having that not-so-secret crush back in high school and her having to tell me multiple times that we're better off as friends, so I do the whole drive back and return the bear. Wrote a fucking poem in a Word document and emailed her. Moved across the country to go to a university near her. She dumped me 4 weeks later. P.S. My life turned out great as a result of my decision to attend this school, so it has a happy ending. Grew my hair long because she asked me to. She stopped going out with me. I kept growing it, and wasn't successful with women until I got it cut. I met a girl and fell head over heels for her. She lived in another state. Nevertheless, we started a long-distance relationship. Coincidentally, she had just lost her job, so I sent her money every week, almost my entire check, and I drove out to see her every chance I got. That autumn I found out she had a boyfriend and was just using me to pay her rent. I was at work when I found out and just left. I had to confront her about deceiving me. I drove 3 hours to her house, and by the time I got there, I knew it didn't matter. She wasn't the person I thought she was. I gave her everything I had for nothing in return. Instead of being mad or saying something that would in her back, I told her that she a horrible person for lying to me. That I hope someday someone hurts her as much as she did me. The next day I went back to my job to see if I could get my last paycheck. My boss took me into his office and laid into me about being irresponsible and failing the company. While I was sitting there, I could barely hear him, as all I could think about was how stupid I was, and suddenly, I started crying. I mean torrents of tears, ugly cry. I must have bawled for a good 10 minutes. My boss stopped berating me and silently waited for me to get control of myself. Then, in a very sympathetic tone, he told me it okay. I was in love like that once. We all do stupid things in the name of love. Try to learn from this. It may seem like the world is ending, but it's not. You'll be okay. Then he sent me back to work, stating that we never have to talk about it again. He was a good boss and a great guy. Edit, a word. Edit 2. Wow, my first gold. Thank you, kind strangers. I really surprised by the responses. Thanks for the encouragement and kindness. And to those of you who share similar experiences, I hope you have learned, as I have, that you are not alone. If your heart was broken, it will heal. To quote a friend, you'll be okay. I will try to answer some questions here. This happened almost 30 years ago. I had just graduated from high school. She was older than me by several years. We met through a friend I worked with. He found out what she was doing and told me at work. Probably not good timing. I freaked and just walked out. When I went back to work the next day, I was just planning to ask if I could be paid for the hours that I had completed the week. This was back before direct deposit was a thing. I no longer work at the company. The boss eventually retired and sold it. I gave her money because I was young and stupid. She weaved tales of woe and I was all too happy to be the hero and obey her. I sent the money via Western Union. Fun fact, if you send a lot of money through Woo, they will automatically make you a gold member. So I got that going for me, which is nice. There were a lot of red flags that I ignored. The most glaring was that she lied. She lied to everyone. And here was my dumb ass thinking she would and lied to me. It was my first time being in love. I had girlfriends in high school, but I had never felt like I was in love with them. So I had no idea that someone could use that against me. My boss ended up being like a father figure to me. Gave me a lot of advice and guidance. I am now married to the love of my life. I am now a manager and I try to emulate some of my former boss' great qualities with the people who work for me. In high school, I saw a girl I liked walking with her friend. My genius brain decided I needed to impress her, so I decided skipping backwards and saying some quip would make me noticeable for sure. I started skipping backwards and said better get to class. I attempted to turn around while skipping and almost face planted but caught myself. I sped walk to class and never spoke to her again. First girl I asked out, I left a chalk outline of a body on her driveway, along with a clearly fake police report indicating I was dying to go out with her. Yeah, I still cringe at the memory. Edit, this blew up. Thanks for the silver, guys. And to everyone asking, I did know her and we had been flirtatious with each other. One of her friends assured me she would say yes to something creative. She did not say yes. In elementary school, when I walked by this girl I liked, I would pretend to chew gum and crack my knuckles cause I thought I looked cool. Getting up from the bleachers to play PE dodgeball, I tried to pull my sweatpants off while yelling "Let do this." Ended up yanking off everything, boxers and all. This girl I really liked ages ago didn't really know who I was. I gave her a Wii for her birthday and it was probably the creepiest thing ever to her. I thought it was a surefire way to win her heart, get married and all that Disney crap. 15-year-old me was stupid. Was in a long-distance relationship with her, flew back for Valentine's Day, turned up with flowers to see her through the window, sitting on the lap of her ex. I was so completely obsessed with a girl that I disregarded my own well-being and threw away any chance I had for success. We dated for 4 years while we were in school for architecture. Towards the end of our degrees, she started having trouble with her thesis project and asked for help. In what can only be described as a lengthy period of insanity, I decided to stop working on my own projects and focus entirely on her thesis. I did everything for her: designs, drawings, models, and write-ups. Her presentation went flawlessly and she had the top grades in her class. As a result of staying up all night for weeks at a time and repeatedly delaying my homework, I failed most of my classes and dropped out of school. She was grateful and begged me to help her work on her master's degree as well. No problem. Got her straight A's and a brand new diploma to add to her collection. She dumped me on graduation day and immediately began a relationship with someone who understood the importance of self-respect. I'm not even mad. It was entirely my own doing, and I learned some valuable lessons. Really expensive fuck up though. Cost me about 8 years of my life playing catch up. Never put a school relationship before your own success. Jumped over a fire pit and ruined my right knee. Doctors were amazed I ever managed to walk, let alone have full use. I got on my bicycle and rode 18 miles to see my GF. My girlfriend lived 28 miles away. If you haven't done the math yet, my tire popped at 18 miles. I told my university-age now boyfriend before our first date that I thought he looked cute in his high school uniform, had been looking at old pics, so he rocked up to pick me up in this full school uniform that barely fit him anymore. I knew this guy that was breezing through a 3-year electrotech college course while the rest of us struggled. I tried to talk some sense into him about this girl he was seeing. Left hand raising a finger for each con. 1. She's addicted to crack. 2. Her uncle is in the mob and has a questionable relationship with her. 3. She has a kid. 4. She's pressuring you to drop out and support her. 5. You're throwing away your future. Right hand. Pros. 1. She's incredibly hot. He dropped out. Tim, you're an idiot. A girl was leading me on. but also being obvious about it. I was stupidly believing I could change her ways and get her to actually date me. She had revealed she always wanted a giant teddy bear, so for her birthday Valentine's Day I bought a giant bear costume from Amazon in like 90 roses. The idea was one for every day I had known her. Creepy and cringy af looking back. Anyhow, she called me drunk the night before and screamed mean shit at me, and I finally broke down and told myself she was a city person, because she always was terrible to me, and I let myself think I could change that because I was desperate to not be alone. In the end I created a sign that said free bear hugs and roses for Valentine's and wore the bear suit onto our college campus on Valentine's Day to give away all the roses. It made so many people happy that it was one of the best things I've ever done. So many hugs and girls were crying because they didn't have to feel so alone on a city commercialized holiday. It was cool. Plus the football players all took a flower and hugged me, which was surprisingly wholesome.